So apparently it was a lot easier back in the day to man your child's phone, but with the upsurge of technology and smartphones being almost a staple to those as young as 10-year-old, monitoring what they watch is put on the back burner. But here to tell us how to step in, especially when it comes to sexting, Dean in the College of Business Management at UTech, Professor Paul Golding, and counseling psychologist with Family Life Ministries and co-host here on Smile Jamaica, Andre Allen Casey. I'm there about 400 times. Morning, gentlemen. Welcome to...
Morning.
Nice to meet you, co-host.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Professor, double-barreled question right at the top. When was this done and why was it done? This is the survey we're talking about.
Yes.
With the youngsters.
It was done between March and April this year.
Okay. Why was it done?
We wanted to get a perspective from Jamaica as to what was happening with our children. Most of the data that we saw was from the United States and Canada. And we know that there are cultural differences. And what we wanted to see was what were the nuances in our environment, separate and apart from anywhere else.
What age group are we talking about?
Or who did you survey?
We surveyed 21 schools across the island, every parish, and there were teens between 13 and 18 years old.
I guess you can't go into every little thing, but give me an idea of what the questions would have been. What was asked?
Wow, we looked at several different areas. First, we wanted to know where the teenagers hang out, which websites they go to. Then we wanted to find out how they access the internet. Then we wanted to find out what they access. And then we went on to unplugging, how long they stay online and what have you. We looked at parenting, we looked at technology in schools, and I have not remembered them all.
Yeah, ma'am. Just before Empress, were you surprised with the findings? Or did you expect what we got?
Some of them we expected, because what we did after we conducted the survey and got the data, we did focus groups in 3 different parts of the country. And the data was corroborated by the interaction that we had with the students.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how were the girls sexting and how were the boys sexting? Who's the one sexting?
All right,
Are they sexting together?
I want to clarify something here based on what we got in the field. The students define sexting as text about sex.
Text
About sex.
Right.
Right. And then they talk about nudes.
About?
Nudes. Using their definition, what we actually asked them about was nudes, because the specific question was, have you
N-U-D-E-S.
naked people,
Yeah.
half
Right.
naked people,
Nude.
yes,
Just clarify.
yeah.
Not N-O-O-D.
So you said the question was?
The questions were, have you sent, have you received partially nude or fully nude picture from anybody? And then we asked a follow-up question, have you sent any? And then there was another question was, have you forwarded any of these that you have received?
They have. How many were forwarding nudes?
Let me put it in context though. When we asked the first question about have you received, 60% of the people said yes. Then when we asked have you sent any, the number dropped down to 23%. And then when we asked have you forwarded any, the number went down to 5%.
Okay.
So it kept declining. But what we noticed is that, because we also looked at it by grade level, so we looked from grade 7 right up to grade 13, and what we noticed is that younger students don't send or receive as many, but as they got older, far more.
The question, Prof. and Counselor, and then working with psychologists, it's normal. It's normal that children are going to have conversations about sex, to think about it, to have these emotions as teens. So is sexting wrong, or is it that we need to understand that it's normal and control it? Where are we with what is normal? For a teenager with all kind of hormones, what's normal?
Okay,
Counselor.
well, first and foremost, any type of nudity that is being sent over or seen, that is a form of pornography.
Right.
Which then makes it illegal because they are underage.
But what about the magazines? Back in your day, when you all were young, you three men. Do you remember all those magazines with the naked girls? I'm just saying.
Yeah,
they were on the stands internationally and people would buy them. Is that not the same thing? Teen Boys, when you were teens, I don't know if you bought them, but I'm thinking about all these magazines that were out there on the shelf. Because of technology, is it not the same thing? Is that not pornography, but it's on the shelves and it's popular to buy?
Well, I can tell you this.
Is that illegal?
In my day, it's only National Geographic.
It's only some new thing.
I don't want to joke it out. I don't want to joke it out, but I think as much as it's problematic, the issue with our teenagers, a lot of our teenagers are engaging in sexual activity. I don't want to. We're making light of the thing, but it's very serious that they're having sex too early, and they're involved in it. But I also want to be careful. How do parents deal with that with their children? What is normal? What is not normal when it comes to emotions? And what conversation should we have with our children about sex?
Well, let me try again. So here we go. As parents, then, to answer your question directly, we need to teach our children what is called emotional intelligence. We give our children so much freedom, and especially if we didn't have those freedom, we go to extremes with those freedoms. But along with freedom comes what? Responsibility. And so we need to teach our children that they have to be responsible in what they do and how they do things. Not only that, some of these things can have long-term effect upon the children going forward. You know, you can't take it back after you send it, so to speak, and it is somewhere there in the cloud. And so when people, nowadays, when you're doing job interviews and things like that, persons are going into your history to see who you are and what you have done. And when they come across things like this, it might, tarnish your character to an extent.
Andre, I want you to go back to the first answer. I don't know if you wanted to add, because you said it was illegal. I don't know if you wanted to add anything after that.
Yes, well, because it is illegal, then we have to understand that the ends doesn't justify the means. And while everybody, we're doing things, beating our days and things like that, notwithstanding, the law still stands that it is illegal and it is pornography.
But what is illegal?
Not only is it pornography.
Sexting is not necessarily
No, we're talking
illegal.
about
The sharing of nudes.
the sharing of nudes. Right.
Is that illegal?
Yeah.
Well,
No, I
It is
can
a form
send my
of pornography. It is a form of pornography.
Okay.
And not only
I
that,
think we need
it
to-
is objectification.
Okay.
And what you're doing is saying that this is your understanding or objectifying a person's body and the type of arousals that you must have about a person's body that the person especially is not au fait with or even asks for the
Professor-
Or in sharing somebody else's image.
Professor,
That's right.
a personal opinion, if you don't mind, sir. What would have surprised you about the findings, if anything at all?
As it relates to this, nothing. Nothing. What the data has shown is that, listen, this is happening. And the question is, how do you, as you had asked before, how do you deal with this thing? Even if this is illegal, enforcing it is impossible.
Why?
Because we can't see what I send you, right?
You can't see unless somebody forward. And what we're noticing is that, listen, this is part of the romantic relationship kind of a thing that goes on with teens. It's just that, persons are willing to show you something, right? So it is part of the new paradigm. And the question is, how then do you educate students to say, well, okay, this is risky behavior. And if you send something off, it means that it is, as you say, out there in the cloud, and it can be forwarded. But we are seeing this kind of a level of taboo that the data is showing that even when you send, the number of persons or the percentage of persons who are forwarding it is much smaller.
Right.
So just with that initial data, it seems as if the problem may not be as bad as in terms of forwarding, but it happening is very much there.
We're here talking about sexting, but was there anything else in your survey that showed up that you found a little strange? Did you look at any other area of teen behavior?
Oh, we looked at what teens use the internet to find information on.
What are they?
Sexuality is high, especially among boys. Sexuality.
Sexuality.
Meaning that questioning your sexuality.
Okay.
Meaning, and we had a kind of focus group last week when we launched this, and the whole thing about homosexuality came up. And it is a big issue that apparently is not a lot of emphasis is on. The other thing that we noticed was mental illness that came up in this.
Searching it for it.
Searching for mental illness. And what the students said before, I think we're running out of time, but what the students have said is that they're not comfortable with counselors, and they're not even comfortable with their parents asking them about these things, because parents tend to jump to conclusions
if they're questioning.
if they start questioning these things. Even if they're trying to find information, they start thinking, parents start thinking that, well, boy, listen, you mean that you're having sex? And they're saying, no, we're not. We just, body's going through all these changes, as the girl said.
So what do we say to parents right now that curiosity is normal and you must have the conversation because they're going to seek information somewhere else?
Somewhere else. And they're seeking it because what they're saying is that some of these things, not comfortable.
Going to the pastor or the parent or the guy
Andre,
that goes.
I'm absolutely petrified to ask you this question. Why do you have a knife? Where you have the professor?
Yeah.
No.
Here's one of the things that we need to teach, and it's the first time on national TV we're teaching this thing here, where youngsters, children, or teenagers need to learn to be responsible. And each time I've shared this example with them, it is profound, and they learn it, they get it. Life is like a knife, and in life we either hold on to the handle or the blade. The sooner you recognize where you're on the knife, the better you're able to navigate your life. Could you hold the knife for me, please? The handle. So you're controlling the knife. You're going to move the knife in 4 directions. Up, down, sideways, sideways. Go ahead. Up, down, sideways, sideways. Come back in the center. Who's in control of the knife? Call your name.
Golding.
Or Professor Gold is in control of the knife. I hold on to the blade.
Yes.
You're going to move the knife in a direction that I don't like. Push it towards me. Pull back. Pull it back. What do you think happened to my hand?
Well, let me see.
No, man. I got cut.
You got cut.
No,
yes.
question. Did you cut me or did I allow myself to get cut?
Well, you head down to the blade.
Yes, but did you cut me or do I allow myself to get cut?
I think you allowed yourself
I
to
allowed myself to get cut. How did I allow myself to get cut? When you move the knife up, did I get cut then?
No.
Down, did I get cut?
No.
Sideways on sideways? No. When you push it towards me, did I get cut then?
No.
No, so it's not because I hold on to the blade why I got cut. But when you were pulling back the knife, did I follow your direction?
No.
No. So that's how I get cut.
Interesting.
And so what am I saying here? Everything about our life and living puts us where the teacher, our parents, they hold the handle. We may not like to consider ourselves on the blade. At my workplace, I hold the blade, I don't hold the handle. The stoplight, when it gives me the red, at that point in time, it holds the handle. And if I fail to observe, then there will be consequences. This is what our youngsters need to understand. And that sometimes when the consequences do bear fruit, that is because they have failed to go in the direction of the person or the system that holds the hand.
I want to make one quick comment here, based on what the student said, because I think while I think this is profound, I also think that we have to understand that, listen, the environment is changing. There's one student that made this comment. She said, listen, you see, the whole of we naked online, who you going to hire?
What happens now that you've done this survey? What happens now?
Okay, what we want to do is to have some interventions in some of these areas in terms of policy, where policy goes in terms of dealing with these things now that we know exactly what is happening. At least we know what's happening now in 2018. How do we deal with counseling us on this based on what the students are saying? The students are also saying something about parenting. Parents do not deprive us of our privacy. Allow us to be private, but train us, help us along the way, but do not go in and look in our phones and all that kind of thing. That's what they're saying.
What the heck?
And what we're seeing also with parenting, is that with digital environment, parenting doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's the same parenting that you need. You need to guide your children, and at some point they're going to be out on their own and them going to do what them
But would you
want
both
to do.
agree that it's too much? Online is a dangerous space. The internet, there's no control. You can't, even if you go in, and I know because monitoring and looking after some children, 100-something plus, we had to lock down the computer room for a while and put in systems, because when we went, same thing, and looked at what they were searching for, it was profound. We're like, oh my God. And it's like, so now you have to have intervention, but then you have to put so many controls in place, and they break the control.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They can get through anything.
But look at our laws too, if you understand what I'm saying. I don't think we should book control. I think it is there for a purpose, and that's the reason why we have laws for a country, because they're going to have folks who are going to be superseding those laws or believe that they're above the laws.
Right.
So the laws are also there to protect us, and maybe that's the kind of conversation we need to also have with our children.
Thanks a lot for coming. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Dean in the College of Business Management at UTech, Professor Paul Golding, and counseling psychologist with Family Life Ministry, our good friend on the Family Life
You
Ministries.
said your co-host earlier, not just your good
He's
friend.
my friend still.
Your co-host.
Andre Allen Casey.
We have more